Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to begin with our candidates from the 3rd and 4th District. As you know, many of these candidates are at-large candidates, which means by city charter that they need to live in the district, but all voters vote on them. So you may be voting on these candidates even if you're not in the 3rd or the 4th District. Okay, so we're going to follow the same rules that we had last time. Remember the basic ground rules. The audience members may submit questions and then our screening committee will hand them to me. Candidates may not attempt to hand letters, petitions, or any other document or material to another candidate during this part of the forum, and only the hosting organization may film or record the event. For our format, each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to a question. I'll be reading the questions. A timekeeper here, one of the Wayne Jewell students, will flash a yellow card, which means that you've got 10 seconds left, and then the red card, which means that you need to stop. The moderator will ask the first question. The moderator may give a 20-second right of reply to a candidate if the moderator believes that the candidate's honor has been attacked or a position of the candidate expressed at this forum has been misinterpreted, and the moderator has discretion about whether to grant a right of reply. And then each candidate, depending on time allowed at the end, will hopefully have a 60-second closing case at the end of the session. So this is what we'll do. We'll ask the first question, and the first question is, why should the voters of Kansas City hire you? Mr. Angel, we'll start with you, and as we work down to your left, would you introduce yourself before you begin? That's great.
Thank you. 1, 2. All right. Can you hear me out there? Good to be around normal people. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Charlie Angel. I've owned and operated an auction business for 35 years. I know what it takes to bring in revenue. I know what it takes to balance a checkbook. I know what it takes to have employees. And with my experience in doing that and running a successful business for 35 years, I'm well qualified to handle the city. I've handled millions of dollars for other people. I've did it with integrity, kept people with jobs in hard times, kept them going. I know what it's like to not have it. I grew up with a family of 9. I'm the youngest, and we're all self-employed people, so my time's out, so you know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
I'm Tracy Ward, 6th District at Large. I think you guys should vote for me because I am a very principled person. I'm one of the types of people that I don't spend money that I don't have. So your money is my money, and I'm not going to spend it the way that I'm going to spend it the way that I would spend it in my household. I grew up inside of a health food store. Both my parents owned their own businesses. I took over my mom's health food store when she passed away. We had that health food store until my dad remarried, and the future wife wanted nothing to do with my mom, so we had to get rid of the store. But I know what it's like to have to make cuts in budgets, and I know what it's like to not spend money that you don't have. And that's some of the qualities and characters that I want to bring to City Hall if I'm elected. Thanks.
My name is John Crawford. I'm running for at-large, 4th District. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I do want to say, everybody tells you this, but I think it's important to know just how important you people in this room are, not just because you're here to hear us, but because if we don't have people who are engaged in the political process, we are much more hot water than we might otherwise imagine. Thank you for being here. My reason for running for City Council is simply the fact that I have run a number of city agencies during the course of my career. I see what works. I certainly see what does not work. I can tell you that as someone who's trained as a city planner and an economist, I have a pretty keen understanding that it's not the city, not government, that creates jobs or creates wealth. It's the private sector. What the city can do, if it does its job right, is to create an environment that makes it possible for investment to happen. I've had the opportunity to succeed in a number of programs where I've worked in a number of different areas of the country. Kansas City is very, very blessed at this point. It has, I think, a great future. I'd like to be part of it.
Good evening, I'm Councilwoman Cindy Sturko for the 5th District at Large. Been in this room many a times with neighborhood associations and dealing with their concerns. So I know the Northland well, so that is one reason to elect me as your at-large candidate. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My family owned a restaurant in Independence, Missouri. I took on that tradition of opening my own business at the age of 19 and had that for over 20 years. So with that experience, we came in and one of the first things I dealt with on City Hall is the archaic regulated industry laws that we had that had not been looked at for over 50 years. In conjunction with the Restaurant Association, the Bar Association, and a lot of other small businesses, we went line by line and trimmed that down to where it would be easier for small business to do business in Kansas City. Created the Small Business Center outside of City Hall, so that would also streamline the process for businesses to get through the bureaucracy in City Hall. So it's about having the ingenuity and the hard work, about bringing people together. There's much more, but not much more time. So I would like to be able to go back and to continue the work that I've been doing and serve you. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Ed Ford. I'm currently your City Councilman, 2nd District at Large. I understand I missed the segment I was supposed to be on. We had another forum down south, so they graciously allowed me to sit in here for this. I come here today with 20 years of public service, 12 years on the City Council. I have been a strong and independent voice the last 4 years for the taxpayer, for public safety, for our business rights, and for the small business person. I'm here asking for your vote on March 22nd.
For our first question, if that's all right, I think we'll begin with Mr. Ford, and then we'll work down to the other end of the pen. Please share an example in which you showed leadership and improved your neighborhood or community and did not receive financial compensation. Mr. Ford.
I've done a lot of I'm an attorney. My law office is in the Commerce Bank building on Berry Road. Been there 27 years. Columbus Park is a neighborhood in the Northeast. And I did pro bono work for Columbus Park for 4 years as they were fighting against the Housing Authority, trying to put in barracks in their neighborhoods.
I will not include anything that I've done as a City Council person because I earn a salary from the taxpayers on that, so I guess that means I was compensated for it. So I'll go before City Council. I served on the Public Improvement Advisory Committee, which is a citizens committee that evaluates the capital projects within Kansas City and sends recommendations to the City Council for their approval. It's millions of dollars annually, and it's a very large, tedious task for a volunteer. So I have empathy for the person that now does that for me. As a neighborhood president of my neighborhood, besides being the president of the neighborhood, we also had a housing authority issue that lasted for over 2 years that I was on the forefront with, that we actually created a national model. Instead of what was perceived to come in as a blight on the neighborhood, we created a program and a development that not only is an asset to our neighborhood, but is an asset to the lower income people that live close to our neighborhood. So it was a win-win for everyone.
The just most recent examples that I would have is having served on my own homes association, the Creswood Homes Association, the Brookside area, now for the second time. It happens that this past year I was actually serving on the boards of 2 neighborhood associations, one my own neighborhood association, and also for the Ivanhoe Neighborhood Council, which is in the African American urban core of the city. There's a community where about 40% of the land mass has now been abandoned, and that neighborhood group is struggling rather difficultly to try to get that area regenerated. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with them. On my own homes association, this is the second time I've served. Last year we had the opportunity to, I was particularly charged as a board member, to try to resolve a pretty contentious issue when the Rock Hill Tennis Club at one point was interested in acquiring a house within my Crestwood Homes Association. That became a very difficult issue for a number of people who were concerned about traffic. The 2 sides were not talking to one another. It became my challenge to mediate between the 2.
I spent 2 years on PTA at the school that my girls attended. The second year I was elected president and my girls were not enrolled in the school. I still did my job. And actually we had a huge deficit when I first started, and when I left that school they had a very, very nice treasure account. Secondly, there was some gang violence that happened in my neighborhood this past April, and we don't have a neighborhoods association where I'm at. So I kind of stepped up and started going around to all the neighbors' houses and asking them if they were concerned about it, and said, well, let's do something. So we all got together and sat down and had a few meetings and ended up eradicating the situation all by ourselves without any help from it was just us neighbors doing it. And then another issue that they had was there's an alleyway between our two subdivisions, and I helped orchestrate a humongous neighborhood cleanup to get that all cleared out. And that's just two of the newest things that I've done. Thanks.
I'm really excited to say that I had 2 things that I did myself, and also I had one thing that I was involved with. The first thing was a lady had Lyme's disease, and I raised over $45,000 and sent her to Rochester, and today she's going great. Second thing I was involved in that I did myself, a newborn baby had a 1% chance of living and is still alive today. So those are 2 things that I was in. I was helping on St. Jude's. We raised millions of dollars for St. Jude, and I was involved in that. Thank you.